So time for a look at the day's business news. Stephen, here today. First of all, you've got a tricky relationship for us. This is between China and the EU. It's going on and on in this, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The latest step in this long-running saga from the French financial newspaper Les Echos. They say that China has launched an anti-dumping action against US and EU chemical companies. China says that the firms who produce certain types of chlorine derivatives have been selling their products at at reduced discount levels in the Chinese market. This practice known as dumping. Two of the firms believed to be involved are the Belgian company Solvay and the European arm of Dow Chemical, the subject of this particular investigation. This comes as Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, has tried to defuse another part of this row over Chinese solar panels. The EU wants to introduce punitive trade duties on the import of these panels from China, but the European Union is also China's second biggest trading partner, and as a result, many, particularly in Germany, are worried about damaging that very important business relationship. Angela Merkel, for her part, says she's going to use Germany's clout to try to avoid getting involved in a trade war.
We talked about Germany and China being in agreement that protectionism is no response to mutual good relations in a global, open world. And that's why Germany will do everything to solve the trade conflicts that we have currently in the solar energy sector and possibly in the telecommunications sector, with as many discussions as possible. We must not fall into a kind of dispute which will only end in mutual taxation.
So that's trade. Now pay. The French government dropping plans to cap executive pay, but the finance minister here wants businesses to come up with their own rules on this issue.
Yeah, it was Friday the French government said that it was going to drop this proposal to cap executive pay in the private sector. Pierre Moscovici did say, though, that he wants business groups to come up with their own plans, sort of self-regulation on this issue. The main business lobby here, MEDEF, has proposed an independent monitoring body to look at how much executives are paid. The French government not happy with that. Pierre Moscovici wants instead the idea of perhaps workers being involved in deciding bosses' pay and also limiting the terms of how long executives can serve on company boards. This, of course, all at the same time that the French government is still proposing a 75% tax to be paid by companies for employees who earn more than €1 million a year.
Okay, then markets, how are they looking?
Particularly grim on the Japanese front today. The Nikkei in Japan down over 2%, as you can see there. This is because the value of the yen, which had been falling, has now turned that tide. The Nikkei has been risen by some 36% so far this year, mainly because of the falling value of its currency, and the price is supposed to be, or is thought to be, because many investors are now taking their profits out of that market. A mixed picture there elsewhere in Asia. We'll move on now with a quick look at some of the day's other business news. And the European Commission is reportedly beginning an investigation into Apple as to whether or not the company is using anti-competitive practices to sell the iPhone. The Financial Times newspaper says the inquiry began after private complaints from mobile operators. It's focusing on issues including whether Apple forces providers to buy a minimum number of iPhones and if there are technical restrictions on using the model on the 4G mobile networks in Europe. Apple says its contracts comply fully with EU law.
Japan's all Nippon Airways has resumed commercial flights with the troubled Boeing 787 Dreamliner. The first trip since the aircraft was grounded 4 months ago landed on time with 220 passengers on board. ANA has the biggest fleet of Dreamliners in operation and has another 36 of the planes on order.
And the electric car manufacturer Better Place is to be wound up after it spent its investment fund of $850 million in just 2 years. The Israeli company had worked with French carmaker Renault to develop battery swap stations for its cars. Better Place was valued at more than $2 billion 2 years ago, but has sold just 1,300 cars since then.
Now, we've been talking quite a lot about Cannes today. Of course, a big thing for film, but also a big thing for business as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the place where many filmmakers go to raise funding for their next project. So a lot of business talk going on the sidelines, but it's also a big boost for Cannes itself, bringing many visitors to the French Riviera. Catherine Viette has the story.
Stars, paparazzi, the red carpet, sun and palm trees. That's Cannes. But the film festival is also big business. During the 12 days, over 200,000 people will stroll along the Croisette. Street performers like this man can earn €100 a day, and hotels make 15% of their annual turnover. But with the poor weather and the financial crisis, bookings at Cannes hotels this year are down by 3%. However, luxury hotels are seeing their bottom line increase.
The film festival is very good for us, with growth between 4 and 8%. That's great during these tough economic times, as everyone knows.
Unseasonably low temperatures have hurt some local businesses, like this ice cream shop.
We're down about 20%. For 5 of the main events at the festival, it rained. I've never seen this before. Then we've also had really cold weather.
The weather, too, has negatively impacted the restaurants along the beach. Customers only returned when the sun decided to peak out again in the last few days.
Overall, it's still positive, even if the first weekend was kind of sad with a lot of rain. Besides the first 3 or 4 days, but overall it caught up in the second week, which was good.
Overall, the Cannes Festival generated €2 million despite the bad weather. Tourist professionals say it's an excellent kickoff to the summer season.
Now, finally, a question for you. Have you ever lied on your CV? Be honest. Stephen has. When he applied to work here, he said he was a journalist.
That was cruel.
I'm
Cruel,
joking.
Stuart.
I'm joking. I don't mean it. A survey here in France has come up with a list of some of the most common untruths.
Yeah, this company that actually investigates CVs for companies who are recruiting here in France found that 26% of people had lied about what qualifications they had. Now, the other common lies, apart from the obvious exaggerating your responsibilities in previous jobs, is saying, I am interested in this job, or lying about your hobbies or interests, or lying about your age, marital status, or address.
I'm desperate for cash is the real one. Stephen Carroll, the world's finest journalist here on France 24. More news coming up after the break. Stay with us if you can.